Run your thumb across your smartphone screen and ask yourself, when was the last time you actually felt something? We are systematically trading the rugged resistance of wood and stone for a frictionless and sterile glow. Our physical intuition is dying in this high-definition void, leaving us biologically adrift in a world that no longer has a pulse. We are living through a silent sensory catastrophe where the richness of reality is being flattened into a singular and numbing pane of glass. By erasing the textures that once grounded us, we have created a life that feels smooth but lacks any soul. Is the convenience of a digital existence worth the permanent loss of our human connection to the physical earth? Evolution spent millions of years refining your senses to interpret the weight and grit of the physical world. Yet in just 2 decades, we have rendered them obsolete. This texture loss is more than a preference because it is a biological numbing that is stripping away our grounding. We are drifting into a high-definition void, and your brain is struggling to find its footing. To understand the gravity of our current situation, we must first look at the biological hardware that defines our experience of being alive. The somatosensory cortex is a dynamic and plastic field that reshapes itself based on every physical interaction we have with the world. Research utilizing electroencephalography has demonstrated that the repetitive use of touchscreens can physically reorganize this part of the brain, specifically the areas representing the thumb and index finger. While this adaptability is remarkable, it reveals a hidden cost known as cortical competition, where the brain over-allocates resources to the act of tapping at the expense of broader environmental awareness. This systematic shift is what we call the Great Flattening, a process where the visceral grit of 21st century life is replaced by a hyper-polished and frictionless aesthetic. We are encountering the glass ceiling effect, where every profound human interaction from banking to dating is reduced to the same cold and haptic tap. This uniformity of input leads to a cognitive disconnect, because when every action feels the same, the brain struggles to assign unique emotional weight to different experiences. The removal of physical resistance in our tools is directly linked to a shorter attention span and a state of sensory malnutrition. When we prioritize visual and auditory data over the somatic sense of touch, our biological hardware becomes dangerously underutilized. This leads to a condition known as sensory asphyxia, where the lack of environmental feedback makes the world feel like it is closing in on us. Evolution designed us to thrive on the struggle of manual mastery, but we are trading that heritage for the comfort of a digital void. To truly grasp the depth of what we are losing, we must enter the world of tribology, the study of interacting surfaces in relative motion. Friction is the force that opposes movement, and while designers view it as an enemy to be eliminated, biology views it as the fundamental language of reality. When you interact with a physical object, your nervous system receives what is called force feedback, which stimulates your ligaments, muscles, and deep tissues. Digital screens, however, only provide vibrotactile feedback, which merely tickles the top layers of your skin receptors without engaging your musculoskeletal system. This is a sensory mirage, where the brain receives a signal of contact, but the body feels no weight, leading to a profound state of somatoperceptual misalignment. This disconnect is at the heart of why modern urban environments and minimalist smart homes can feel so alienating. Anthropologist Mark Auge famously described these as non-places, environments like airports and supermarkets that lack identity, history, and relation. In a non-place, you are not an inhabitant, but merely a user, a figure defined by your functional role rather than your social belonging. The internet is the ultimate non-place, a prosthetic environment where identity is continuously reformatted and symbolic presence is thinned out. This leads to what researchers call the Google effect, or cognitive offloading, where we outsource our memory and navigation to our devices. When we no longer need to remember a path or a fact, the hippocampus, the part of our brain responsible for memory and spatial navigation, begins to shrink. Furthermore, our social media feeds act as a dopamine bypass, delivering rewards without the physical effort traditionally required for satisfaction. This creates a blunting of striatal dopamine sensitivity, meaning we need more and more novelty to feel anything at all. After a session of high-novelty digital consumption, The slow and textured real world can feel exhausting or even painful by comparison. We are witnessing the disappearance of calloused intuition, the wisdom that humans once developed through physical struggle and manual mastery. This systematic erasure of physical friction is not just a change in lifestyle, it is a fundamental shift in what it means to be a biological entity. We are becoming unmoored from the earth, drifting into a high-definition void that lacks the grounding weight of reality. But here is the most terrifying part of our transition into a digital-first life. When we remove the friction between ourselves and the world, we are not just making life easier, we are removing the very thing that defines the self. Philosophers like Jean-Luc Nancy have argued that the self is created only through the act of touching and being touched by the other. In a world of frictionless glass, there is no other to push back against us, leaving us trapped in a state of narcissus narcosis. We have extended our nervous systems into the machine to the point where we can no longer tell where our bodies end and the network begins. This leads to a state of digital dissociation, a post-virtual state where our cognitive integration and affective resonance begin to crumble. We are becoming ghosts in a world of our own making, possessing all the information in the universe but none of the feeling. This is the ultimate cost of the frictionless life, a soul that has been flattened into two dimensions. We are trading our biological heritage for a digital shadow, forgetting that reality is not something you see, but something you feel. If the brain's first step to self-awareness is through the body, then what happens when the body is no longer there to respond? We are living in an architecture of the void, where the only thing that is real is the one thing we can never truly touch. There is a way back from the edge of this high-definition void. It is called the tactile rebellion, a movement to reintroduce deliberate physical friction into our daily lives. When we use our hands to manipulate the world, we activate the effort-driven reward circuit, which lowers our cortisol and grounds our nervous system. We must choose the heavy reality over the light digital void to rediscover what it means to be biologically human. Go outside and run your hand across the bark of a tree or the rough surface of a stone. And remember that you are not a pixel. You are a creature of grit and gravity, and you were never meant to be this smooth. If you want to help us fight the Great Flattening, then hit the subscribe button and join the tactile rebellion. Because the only thing worse than losing your senses is forgetting that you ever had them. Leave a comment below telling us the last thing you touched that made you feel truly alive.